And in terms of page speeds, there's a real gap there. There's a real challenge that, we know the importance of getting it to a second or less, but it's really, really difficult for retailers to do that. And part of it is because we keep adding great apps and great features, but those features also slow the page down, so there's a dynamic, there's a balance. And what we're doing is we're not saying a retailer should replace their existing product pages with ours. Absolutely not, because those have really good features.
You're listening to eCommerce Fastlane, the podcast show to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company, powered by Shopify. Listen to real conversations with partners and subject matter experts as they share proven practical strategies, platforms, and the best Shopify apps to help you accelerate your business. The time is now for you to improve efficiencies, grow revenue, profit, and lifetime customer loyalty. Please welcome your host, startup founder and strategic advisor, Steve Hutt.
This episode is brought to you by TDO, the highest rated live chat software on Shopify. Now, TDO helps Shopify merchants to gain and retain more customers with personalized shopping experiences. Now, with TDO, you can recommend products and offer discounts based on the user's behavior and their order history without leaving the chat widget. Now, TDO also takes the pressure off your support team, and the app really enables you to manage all of your communication channels from one dashboard. And literally, it can automate up to 47% of your recurring questions. So it's pretty amazing. With a great time saver. You can increase your customer satisfaction and sales with personalized shopping experiences. You can learn more by visiting tdo.com/fastlane. That's TIDIO.com/fastlane. And there you can start a TDO Premium Edition with an exclusive discount for eCommerce Fastlane listeners only. So make sure you punch in the special code Fastlane when you check out. Well, welcome back to eCommerce Fastlane. I'm your host, Steve Hutt. With plenty of podcast choices out there for founders and marketers, both in e-commerce, retail, and the whole direct-to-consumer space, I massively appreciate the fact that you're taking time and listening to the show today. We release new episodes twice weekly, and they're available from all of your favorite podcast apps like Apple, Spotify, and Google. And we're also now streaming on Amazon Music and YouTube. So if you would like to consume your podcast from those platforms, you might want to go check them out, like and follow and share and all that kind of fun stuff. To get the full value of today's episode, I highly recommend, again, click through from whatever podcast app you're using. That will bring you over to today's show landing page at ecommercefastlane.com, and you'll have links, resources, and all things we mentioned on today's episode. So my guest today is Liam Patterson. He's the CEO and co-founder of a company called Bidnamic. And they're at Bidnamic, Bidnamic.com. And what they are is they're a marketing technology company, and they focus very exclusively with e-commerce brands and retailers. They really help increase revenue and profit from Google shopping campaigns. It's going to be an excellent conversation. I know I have a lot of merchants that have asked a lot of questions about just the native tools that are built into Google in the ads platform. But what's unique about this layer of Bidnamic on top of it? I think we're going to dig into some really, really fun case studies. And we're also going to talk about a limited special that's available for those that are in the Shopify world. So hi, Liam. Welcome to eCommerce Fastlane.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. Thanks for syncing calendars. I know we're significantly apart. I think, 8-9 hours apart. But I think, where there's talent and opportunity and this kind of work from home thing, it just seems to be perfect. I just want to thank you for getting on the show today.
Oh, it's a real pleasure. Thanks again for having me. I'm really excited.
So let's talk a high level first, because Google shopping campaigns, I would call it table stakes when it comes to kind of like acquisition marketing, like just finding net new customers, because you get that visual appeal. Google's been very prominent how they display and visually showing images. So like visually people gravitate towards the shopping campaigns, and because you can get to see the product and you get to click through on it. So it's clear that the real estate is there in Google search. I think the challenge is that there's sometimes maybe the bounce rate, the conversion rate, or a lot of competition, or you're just not running campaigns effectively. And so I think that's where Bidnamic fits into the equation. So can you share a little bit just on a high level first? I'm going to dig deep into how your tool works, but I just want to hear it from you as the founder, what sort of problem are you solving versus native Google?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely spot on. So it's absolutely critical challenge for retailers to get online, to be visible when customers are searching for exactly what they're selling. So the great thing with Google is when someone's searching online, they've got that intent that they're searching for that product. The carousel on Google right at the top of the page shows up, shows a little thumbnail of the product. It shows the price, shows the merchant's name as well. And then it costs money for the merchant when they click on the ad. And at the point they click on the ad, it takes them through to their e-commerce store, so their Shopify store. And it's the big challenge for retailers is that whilst COVID has been a big boom to be online, there's now so many merchants, and there's only typically on the Google shopping carousel around 5 products that show. So that's a real challenge when you imagine these kind of terms that people are searching for, such as running shoes, or even brand terms like Nike or Adidas, running shoes. There's hundreds, if not thousands or millions of retailers that are stocking those products and wanting to show up. So what we help maximize is the visibility. So getting them to show up, but at the right time, when customers are really likely to buy, when the revenue from that click is going to be really high and the profit from that click is going to be the profit that the merchant is really desiring. And that's where we come into the fold, making sure that as a technology provider, we're getting the maximum visibility and maximum profit from the search terms against the right product at the time that they're really likely to buy. So that's really where we sit into the equation.
Very interesting. I just typed into Google right now, best men's shaving razor, just as an example. And it's, there's 16 million results. And, and I see all of the Google shopping ads, definitely like these are sponsored ads across the top. I find it a little bit overwhelming, and I can see the challenge that comes up with, there's only 2, 4, I'm only seeing 6 images of quote unquote best men's shaving razor. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah. And if I was to ask you that first position, the one you see to the left-hand side, do you think that's showing up there because it's maybe the best one for you? Maybe it's Google's, showing the most trustworthy seller. Would that be why you think they'd show up there? Or
I think so. And I think part of it too is that this particular one has over 9,000 4.5-star reviews.
Yeah.
So I think reviews sounds like it plays a role a little bit into some of this organic placement potentially.
Yeah. So certainly that's true. Google really looks at the relevance. It looks through the click-through rate. But the most important thing is that if I was to tell you any business, any retailer on Shopify could get to that position that retailer is there. And they would do that by simply paying Google the highest cost per click. So whilst these other things, the relevance, which includes the reviews, it includes the click-through rate, it includes the imagery, they all play a part, includes the title. Actually, it's all about how much you can pay Google for that single click. And everyone to the right-hand side, so further away, they're all being outbid by 1 cent or 1 penny in the UK. And that's really what it's all about, is this real-time auction. So you search for that product, you're in the moment for shopping for it, and an auction happens with every advertiser, which, as you say, is millions or hundreds of thousands, and just 5 are shown. And they're the 5 that are most willing to pay. And that's really important because on Amazon, for example, the buy box is one based on price. It's not based, and availability, but it's not based on anything else. Whereas on Google, it's all about not the price, not being the cheapest or the fastest or even the most trustworthy seller. It's actually all about who will pay Google the most money. So that makes a real conundrum. And if I was to tell you that first position on the left-hand side, which is known technically as a top impression, which is the first impression that's shown, gets around 60 to 65% of all the clicks that go through Google Shopping. So it's really, really dominant. And that makes a challenge because whilst you say there was 5 positions there, actually that first position is taking more than half of the clicks, half of the traffic, just by showing up there, by paying the most to get to that position on the left-hand side. And that is the real challenge that's happening with Google Shopping, is such a small amount of availability, but such a huge amount of traffic, which is driving through it.
And it sounds like it gets into the topic of, well, right, how much money am I willing to spend to get this click? But then understanding the conversion rate of that, understanding the LTV of that particular customer and saying, hey, maybe we're willing to lose some money net on the first transaction. This particular men's shaving razor. It's electric and it's kind of doing its thing. But obviously at some point they're going to remarket other different types of creams, other different kind of like other products that go along with it, new razor heads. There's all different things that you could add on to build lifetime value out of it. And I think that's an overall kind of profitability kind of conversation. So can you unpack that a bit? Because if people are willing to pay more to get into that one spot on the left, because you're saying 65% of the clicks are going through there, like what sort of like business skills does somebody have to saying, hey, well, how much are we willing to pay for? And how are we tracking and monitoring it and building lifetime value so we are profitable?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So really that auction will be won by the person or the retailer that can pay the most for that click. And the things that really come into that are the conversion rate. So how many clicks do you need to get a sale? So you can imagine if one business has a conversion rate of say 1%, they've got to get 100 clicks to get one order. Whereas if someone has just 2%, they're able to get just 50 clicks to get an order. So they're able to pay twice as much, although the clicks cost the same. So conversion rate, which is a click to a sale, is absolutely huge. Then there's the bounce rate. So how many people are clicking on that ad and immediately leaving? Because you've got to pay for every click, not with the impression. And an impression is when you show up on that Google Ads carousel. The impressions are totally free. If no one clicks on your ads, you're not paying even a penny. But as soon as they start clicking on, that's when you're getting charged. That's when the traffic's coming through to your website. And at that point, you want to minimize the bounce rate, which is traffic which clicks and maybe leaves immediately. You want to maximize the conversion rate, that traffic which from the click continues through, adds to cart and purchases. And then you want to increase the average order value. So how much are they buying? Are they just buying the one item that they clicked on? Or are you able to upsell them, cross-sell them, and make sure that they're checking out with a larger basket or cart value than what they initially clicked on? And then finally, as you mentioned, the lifetime value. Is this a one-time purchase? Are they going to click through and never buy again, unfortunately, despite your best efforts? Or is it a high-frequency purchase where it's like a replenishable product, like you mentioned? So they're going to keep coming back. They're going to be buying again and again, month in, month out, and you're going to grow that sale. So in that case, you might even be willing to make a loss on that first sale because you know you're going to bring them back again and again, month in, month out, year in, year out, and make a lot of profit. And then finally, it is the profit margin. So, what is your profit margin on the sale? If you've got, you've been able to buy it at an amazing price, maybe you've got 40% margin, whereas your competitors have only got 20% margin. So again, there's all these elements which play into it, from the bounce rate, the conversion rate, the average order value, the lifetime value, the profit margin, all the way from the top to the bottom. And I suppose what's unique about Bidnamic is we're able to take all those insights, all that information, all that data, and we're able to take that and understand it and build the campaigns in what we call a campaign structure within Google, which is an SKU by SKU level. So it's an item by item in its own ad group. So we can set the bids, understanding the profitability, understanding the conversion rate, understanding the lifetime value, so that we can make sure that we are what we call in this sweet spot, where we're maximizing the revenue, our visibility, our clicks, our profits, our revenue, but we're not underbidding, where we would be just paying a few cents when we could afford to pay more to get more visibility. And we're not overbidding, where we'd be paying way too much dollars when we can only afford cents, and blowing out the profitability. And I suppose that's where our technology comes in, is to optimize the right cost per click on the right product, understanding all those elements of the business, and even things like return rates. For fashion, it's a big element that you get an order, but for some businesses, 40% of products are coming back. So it's not their profit isn't what they're seeing on day one, because unfortunately 40% of that's coming back as returns and exchanges. So there's a lot of insights that we're able to bring in and build up these campaigns from that level.
What's interesting, you mentioned about the AOV and the LTV, and I'm totally in alignment with upsell, the cross sell, and then I'd even add the post purchase upsell. Yeah. Overall, trying to just grow that AOV, that basket size, which then correlates to lifetime value for that particular customer. I think having all this data is really important. So how does Bidnamic fit into the mix then, as far as understanding that data? Is there an analytics platform? You're saying on a SKU by SKU level, you're able to kind of put in cost of goods. I guess you consider shipping. I guess I just don't know like the true profitability. I have seen other different types of tools that are there just to manage an e-commerce business more generally. But if we want to like drill down more specifically when it comes to Google Shopping campaigns, can you talk about your platform a bit about, hey, can we put a SKU by SKU level actual cost, like landed cost in there? Do we factor in shipping? I just want to understand the lay of the land a bit so that your tool is actually making great decisions for each brand individually.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So first of all, where we differentiate ourselves is by that product by product or SKU by SKU level. Because every item is different and every item is changing. So one product might be 40% margin, but then it goes on sale and it's 50% off, and suddenly that 40% margin has become 20% margin. So first of all, these numbers and these metrics are dynamic and they're changing. So we're able to react to that changing landscape of numbers. We're also able to build out what we call a campaign structure on a SKU by SKU level. So that means we can bring in all of the details. So the retailers they're feeding us with their cost prices, which is what we call a cost of goods sold. So what's the item cost? They can factor in their different elements. So in the UK and Europe we have VAT, which is a tax. You have sales taxes. There's all these different elements. We can look at tax. We can look at the cost of the product. We can even start to factor in return rates, and we can use those to decide a level of profitability and a level of revenue that we need to make above a product's cost. So that then can be translated into what we call a return on ad spend, or a POAS, a profit over ad spend. So we're able to have these two metrics, so revenue and profit, calculated from all these different levels. And we're then able to take all the products, all the items, based on all their unique data, and we're able to set those on different targets. So how much we're willing to what is the right level of profit or the right level of revenue per dollar spent at the top of the funnel on the clicks. And that's their insights we're able to draw from the team, and we can get those into the merchant center, into feeds. So they're dynamic, they're constantly updated. And then from there, we're able to build this very item by item level campaign structure, which have a whole host of benefits. So it has a benefits because by building it at a product by product level, we're able to see who are the exact competitors for that product. We're also able to overlay what we call purchase intent. So purchase intent is around one element is on one side, you can imagine having the product. On the other, you've got the customer's search term. So you can imagine the same product, let's say a pair of Adidas shoes, could show up if someone just types in men's running shoes. That product is relevant for that click. So Google will enter it into the auction. And if you've just set a 50 cent bid, for example, at 50 cent, you'll be relevant to show up for the term men's running shoes. At 50 cent, you'll be willing to show up for the term Adidas men's running shoes. And just at 50 cent, you're willing to show up for the term Super Boost men's size 10 running shoes, black. Really, really detailed. So what we're able to do is understand that actually every search term against a product has a different element of revenue and profit. And those that are very specific, which are very detailed, very granular, long tail. So all these different buzzwords that we could use. But effectively, those that exactly describe the product that the customer is searching for on Google has a massive amount more revenue and a massive amount more profit. So our structure that we build through the AdWords API that our technology builds in the Google Ads account is able to take in an individual product, understand its profit and its profit potential, what the retailer needs to see, and then map that against search terms and search queries that are coming in and bid them very efficiently. So for terms which are generic, we call them awareness terms, and we'd bid just single cent on terms like men's running shoes or men's running sneakers. And then we'd bid very, very aggressively, maybe $1 or even $2 or $20 for clicks, which are very, very high profit, which are those detailed long tail terms, which we call purchase terms.
What's interesting too about the bounce rate, this conversation comes up a lot with merchants, why bounce rate is so high. And I'm going to ask you this question about what do you recommend? Like where does the click need to go to? I know you talk about the different types of search intent and where it needs to go. Some people are on the fence about this. Should I go to a collection page of all the Adidas, for example, men's Adidas shoes? Or do we go specifically to the PDP, this product details page? Or do we actually go to some kind of a long form sales page around Adidas product? And it's something that's custom, that's long form, telling the brand story around Adidas and the company that you may want to be shopping at. Maybe they're just kind of a shoe retailer. So I'm just curious on kind of what your opinion is. Collection page, PDP, or a long form kind of sales page?
Yeah, really, really great question. So I would say the big challenge and something we're seeing across many, many retailers is the bounce rate. So this is when someone clicks on the Google shopping term, they go to Google, they type in their product, they see the ads, they click on the ad, the retailer got charged money. And at that point, we see more than 50%, more than half of that traffic bouncing right back to Google. And the reason for that is actually because with Google Shopping, we don't have any control on where we would send them. So if someone's typed in men's Adidas running shoes, the best place to send them would be to a collection page or a category page around the brand, around the sport, running, around the gender of men's. But we don't have that control. On Google, we have to send them, and the only place we're allowed to send them is to a product details page. We've actually reinvented this. We've seen this challenge, we've seen this bounce rate, and we said, okay, how can we reinvent this? And we've created a product built for Shopify, which is a headless Shopify storefront. It's a landing page, a product details page, but we've reimagined it. And we've said, how could it be if it was based around a collection page? How would we reimagine that product details page? Not on the normal store, not if someone's searching on the Shopify store or coming from SEO or any other channel, but how would we reimagine it just for the journey of Google Shopping? And what we've seen is we'd reimagine it. First of all, it'll be incredibly quick because the number one reason for bouncing is this page speed. It takes simply too long to load. So what we've seen is that Google have published many studies as well, as have Shopify and other brands. But Google have said that if a page loads in more than 5 seconds, that page, then the percentage of bounce rate increases 90% versus if it could load in 1 second. So what we've said is, let's take that and load it in 1 second. And we have a product details page, which will load in almost half a second for desktop and a second or less for mobile. So it's mobile first, headless Shopify landing pages built just for the journey of Google Shopping. So the first part is speed, but then we've added an overlay for conversion rate. So when someone's typed in men's running shoes and men's Adidas running shoes, and they've selected an individual product, we know the product they've clicked on. And this product has lots of details. They're the details you have to list onto Google: the size, the color, the gender, the brand, the product type, the collection, the material. And we from an AI perspective, understand those attributes from the Google Merchant Center, where that information has been input. And we can see the similarity and the difference between that product and the rest of the products that the merchant is selling. And we overlay them as product recommendations, and we put them above the mobile fold. So on a mobile phone, if you click through, it loads in under a second, and it shows a carousel, just like on Google, a scrollable carousel of the most similar alternatives, and the same on desktop as well. So really, because often people will click and it's either too slow and they bounce out, or it's just not the same product they want. And it's frustrating. They think actually it's better to go back to Google and select a different ad from that carousel, or to refine their search and search again. And that's where we really come in with this discovery product landing pages built for Google Shopping.
Today's episode is sponsored by our friends over at TDO. It's TIDIO.com, and they're the highest rated live chat software on Shopify. Literally, you can increase your customer satisfaction and sales with personalized shopping experiences. You can learn a lot more by heading on over to TDO.com/Fastlane, and you can start right away with a premium version. It's exclusively available on a special discount for eCommerce Fastlane listeners. You can check them out there, TDO.com/Fastlane, and use the promo code Fastlane. Oh, that's lovely. Because I know Core Web Vitals, I have a lot of brands. I mention them. I say, listen, are you logging into Search Console? Where are you at overall? Let's do a quick kind of SEO audit, and let's do a speed audit on your site, just in general terms. So I think the more plugins or apps and things you add, it tends to kind of bloat the site a bit. Are there any native things that we can do kind of on the Shopify Plus side of Shopify, or running headless? If you want to go hydrogen and oxygen, kind of like Shopify's native solution, or Contentful or Webflow or whatever you're using, I think there's opportunity there to really improve just overall speed. But I could see how it could directly relate to Google Shopping campaigns to improve. I'm glad you're solving that problem, though, of saying, hey, we're going to custom make through your app the the correct landing page by SKU, going to a custom made kind of fast and snappy. I think you probably could overlay on top of that too, if people are going to leave, what sort of other opportunities are available to people that if they don't see what they want and they are going to bounce, exit intent pop-ups, other different types of things. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first of all is the speed. And Google has the page speed insights. So anyone can go to Google and insert their URL and it will score them out of 100. And these pages score 100 out of 100 for page performance. And they do that for both mobile and desktop. And I think the fastest we've seen on Shopify, and we're talking, Shopify Plus, many of the big brands, is around 60, and often much, much lower for the mobile side. So there's a massive room, a massive opportunity. And in terms of page speeds, there's a real gap there. There's a real challenge that, we know the importance of getting it to a second or less, but it's really, really difficult for retailers to do that. And part of it is because we keep adding great apps and great features, but those features also slow the page down, So there's a dynamic, there's a balance. And what we're doing is we're not saying a retailer should replace their existing product pages with ours. Absolutely not, because those have really good features such as live chats, such as videos, such as Instagram carousels of images, and all these great features which help conversion rate and they help add to carts and upselling. But for the journey of Google Shopping, when someone clicks on the ads, speed is absolutely critical, and discovering that product immediately is really, really critical. So we're sat between the Shopify store's main product pages and Google Shopping, the entry page. And that's what we've created, is this headless landing page built for Google Shopping with the speed element. And now what we're doing is bringing in partners. So when we're talking about exit intent, we're bringing in exit intent overlay, because that's absolutely critical. If someone's bouncing, we're seeing the cursor move towards that dreaded back button. And then at that moment, let's fire a pop-up. So we've brought in some really powerful partners that are leading the market there to solve that and to power that solution, and including that in the fee. Similarly, for some of the advanced product recommendation and the searches as well. So the search box, again, there's some amazing solutions out there. So we've partnered with and worked with these teams to embed their technologies into these headless landing pages to reduce the bounce rate.
You're speaking my language here. I love this. I love the fact that you play nicely with other partners kind of in the ecosystem, because, you kind of want to focus your energies on kind of what you do well, but you also want to partner with, and, these tools actually are usable on other collection and PDP pages and stuff. So it's kind of a win-win. Your headless option.
Yeah. And we almost sit with the partners. We're almost an on-ramp for them. So what's really powerful is, we're just the only page we're powering is the product details page, but not even the product details page. It's only the product details page as an entry page from Google Shopping. So we're not actually replacing the main product details page. We're just building the right product details page for a Google Shopping customer, for a journey to come through here to then start shopping and browsing the full website, the full e-commerce store. And it's an amazing opportunity because partners can show the benefit. They can show the improvement from the pop-up or from the search or the intelligent product recommendation. And then retailers can say, right, we're seeing a real uplift from using this. So then they can roll it out across all the other surfaces of the e-commerce store, the category page, the home page, the cart page, and work directly with those technology providers to roll out. But at that point, they've already seen the uplift. They already know that this works. So it's a no-brainer for them to move across and work full time with these other partners. And that's a real challenge for a lot of partners, because there's often a lot of cost to ingesting, to understanding the product details, all that information, to make the recommendations. There's some integration costs from development teams to build and launch some of these applications. So it's a real win-win for both, particularly in the enterprise space, that Shopify Plus space, where it can be quite lengthy and quite detailed integrations that have to take place.
Can I ask a little bit about the sweet spot of a merchant? Because I think, there's going to be, 30-some thousand people listening to this episode over the next 3 or 4 months. It's just like knowing that there's going to be different maturity and complexities of people that are listening. Because you mentioned Shopify Plus, and so that kind of makes sense because when you have a large data set and a larger budget, and you can kind of, and more specifically, like you have more data available, so you're able to kind of make a larger impact. I'm just curious from your side, is there a sweet spot of a customer that you can start, or can somebody spend $500 a month or $1,000 a month on Google Shopping campaigns as a starting point? And can your tool make a measurable impact for them? Just want to get the lay of the land a bit about sweet spot of best customer for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's almost two. So there's the core business at Bidnamic is all around that campaign optimization within Google Shopping. So building very, very granular campaigns where we understand all of the data behind a single product. And also the search terms coming in there and how likely those search terms are to convert. On that product, would be really a minimum kind of spend would be in the low thousands of dollars to get started. And the reason for that is you'd have to have enough data to coming through. You're in the Google market, in the Google Shopping ecosystem already. You already also have a benchmark. If you were getting 5 times ROI, ROAS before working with us, we'll move you to 7 to 8. That, and you know that we've made a real impact. Whereas if you're brand new to it, you don't know if 7 or 8 is good. Could you do better? And it's a real honest challenge. And also you've got to have enough spend to be able to get the data, to get the search terms, to get that performance. So in terms of the Google Shopping side, the campaign optimization and bid management, you'd be looking at spending low thousands of dollars right the way up in terms of what you're paying to Google and for the economics to make sense. So we're a performance product, so we need to have to come in very quickly, pay for ourselves, give a ROAS and ROI upgrade for the business, so that we're not a cost center. We're very much a profit center for that business as a tech partner. So that means that they need to be spending a few thousand on that channel. Then the second element is the headless landing pages built for Google Shopping. So the cost is much lower, and we can really scale with a retailer in terms of that perspective. And the impact is immediate as well. When you go from a page which is 7, 8, 9 seconds to under 1 second, that's huge. When the bounce rate goes from 70 or 80% down to 50 or 40%, the uplift in revenue is massive from that. And that's really where we can get involved on a click by click basis. So we can come in and we can grow with retailers from low hundreds right the way through to the Shopify Plus, and we work with many of the biggest brands on Shopify Plus to scale them up. So we work with the likes of Volcom. We work with many big brands, and there's over 50 plus case studies on the website bidnamic.com. Many of those are Shopify Plus, as well as smaller businesses that have grown and scaled with us as well.
I love that. There's one thing I've always tell my merchants and stuff about Google's kind of like page speed recommendations. I know we're going to harp on this topic today because I think it is super important, but Google truly does recommend that pages load under 2 seconds. So it's great that that your tool is 0.5 to 1 second on your headless option. The other thing that I tell merchants too is that, having a slower page load time really, as we talk about already, bounce rate increases. But I'd also add from a technical SEO perspective, I think slow pages actually hurt organic rank in search. Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So what we do on our pages is they're actually no follow. So we're not built for SEO because we'd rather that traffic goes to your main page, because it's typically going to have more insights, it's going to have more details, it's going to be a better place for that. So the only traffic that can find us is actually through the Google Ads click. However, whilst there's not an impact on SEO kind of purposely at this stage, there is a massive impact on what's known as ad rank, or quality score. So this is effectively what Google's looking at, is saying, who do we let win that buy box and how much do we charge them? So anybody can win the buy box by paying the most. And that's that top impression, that visibility. They're showing up along the carousel towards the most left-hand side, the top impression. But to do that, it costs incrementally more if there's a low relevancy score. And that low relevancy score is to do with Sure, it's to do with the product title, it's to do with the relevance of that product against that search term, but it's also to do with the page performance, just like on SEO. So a high bounce rate really, really hurts a business, as does a slow loading page really hurts a business. So by being so quick and so relevant, because on those product pages, we show the most similar alternatives. So if someone's typed in, men's hiking boot, we're going to show them all the other men's hiking boots that retailer shows. If they've typed in Adidas men's running shoes, we're going to show them all the other Adidas men's running shoes. So the page becomes really, really relevant in terms of the recommendations and is really, really quick to load. So these two things together mean that we've got a really high quality score, which feeds an ad rank, which means you're able to get a very big discount on the relevancy and the cost per click that you're paying versus somebody who has a slow loading page, who has less relevance because they're showing up, other items that aren't as relevant to the search term. So yeah, there is a huge impact on this, and it's really, really important.
Absolutely. I'm going to pivot a bit to a story now, because I really think when we share stories and hear them, I think it really educates and inspires both myself and those that are listening today. I don't want to put you on the spot here, but it'd be great to, because I know you have a lot of case studies. I'll put these links in the show notes, but is there any one of note that you're thinking of that maybe they had a current process kind of without Bidnamic? They became a customer and now they're improving their efficiencies of their campaigns and driving more revenue. Is there anyone of note you can think of? And I'd like to hear their story of kind of like finding you, implementing you, and kind of like on what came out of or continue using your platform. What does it look like for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the immediate one that comes to my mind has been Appalachian Outfitters. So a US business built on Shopify. They've got an amazing outdoor store. So they are stocking the top brands. They're stocking, Patagonia, which was the most searched brand last year. Huge brand, massive competition on Google and Google search, and particularly paid search. And what's been so exciting is they've worked with us the bidding side of things, and also the discovery landing pages, those really fast, high performing pages. And what we've been able to do is understand the product. We've been able to get much more granular than their previous setup. So we're able to bring in costs of goods sold. So what's the real profitability of products? And there was products there they were selling that they weren't profitable. They were happy with the numbers, but actually those numbers, when you understood the profitability, were making a loss. So we were able to overlay the understanding of profitability and return on ad spend that was needed for those lower margin items, and equally be more aggressive on those which were high margin. They're great products. Sure, they might not be big value, but actually very high margin. So we're able to overlay, first of all, that granularity in terms of the business metrics, the revenue, the profit that's coming through, being able to build out the purchase intent. So giving them a lot more visibility for those most detailed, very specific search terms. And then we've been able to overlay the discovery pages. So these are the headless Shopify landing pages built for speed and optimized for conversion, which are able to really uplift them. So by launching the bidding component to the business, we've been able to upgrade their traffic by 139% in a single year, giving them 48% more impressions or visibility. We've been able to massively grow their revenue. And we've also been able to launch the headless landing pages, and they've been able to reduce the bounce rate by 11% and increase their conversion rate by 9%. So that means that every click that's coming through from that 139% increase that we've been able to get them has been able to be now more, it's been able to contribute more revenue, more profit, and that's been able to really accelerate them as a business, which has been really nice to see as well, because they're an established business, but they're also, they've also got family components to that business. So really nice to be able to see that for a business like that.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. I'm just actually going through their website right now live, kind of having a look and see, so I can see some of the things they're doing. And I'm actually going to Google search right now, Patagonia, men's baggies, naturals, and just curious to see, because I'd love to see, and I'm going to share this in the show notes, about what does the live landing page look like for this particular vendor and what you guys were able to implement on shopping campaigns to this page. So it's pretty cool. So it is a no follow, but it's still nice to see kind of what you guys are building. And that's the great thing about Bidnamic, is you really do have two main kind of core services. It's the Google Shopping Management fulfillment side of the business, and they don't have to go to your shopping landing page opportunity. You have your headless option, but it sounds like it's a great 1-2 punch of, hey, let's understand the profitability and let's get aggressive where we can on a SKU by SKU basis. And that's the shopping management side, which is maybe different than what Google offers core, because Google doesn't necessarily know your cost of goods, doesn't understand a lot of those variables. It's just really...
Exactly. And retailers should be maybe a bit hesitant to give too much data over to Google. And the other component and big difference between what we offer and what's called PMax or Performance Max, that's Google's kind of bidding offering, is transparency and visibility. So the way we're doing it is we're plugging into the Google Ads API, we're injecting our technology and our understanding and our automation. But what we're also doing is giving back transparency. So Performance Max, you can't see what search terms customers and shoppers are typing into Google when they're clicking on your ads. You can't see what are those exact words. So that means you can't react to them. And that's negative in terms of you can't understand, were they search terms and customers you really wanted to buy, or were they very specific or very generic? So you lose that visibility, but you also, and control as well. But you also lose the ability to see those search terms, which we've had retailers who've used that data to inspire their next collections they buy, products they launch, products they develop, because they're seeing customers clicking through, asking for example, pocket t-shirts, but they just sell, they just stock them as normal t-shirts. So they'll go off, create pocket t-shirts, get that boost in revenue. So there's a lot of ways you can use that search term data. SEO is another example we've kind of touched on here. If you can see the exact amount of impressions, visibility for a single search term over a certain time, if it's declining, increasing, if it's driving revenue and profit or not, that's an amazing basis to build off for SEO. And so our technology gives back that visibility, and it also gives back the visibility of performance. So it gives you, how many times has this individual SKU shown up this month on Google, and for what search terms, misspellings, exact words, terminologies that shoppers have used when they've typed into Google and clicked on your ads. We give you that visibility. We also give you the performance. How much is the cost? How much does that click cost? What's been the revenue? What's been the profit from that exact click? And are we, how much of the impression share? How much of the visibility are you getting on the carousel? So are you getting 5% visibility when it's a really relevant click, or are you getting 90% visibility? Are you showing in the top impression, that most left-hand side, or are you way down the carousel, not seen at all? So that's all the insights we're able to give them because we're not using Google's Performance Max. But what we are doing is we're providing the automation which comes with Performance Max. So it's very easy. We're able to understand, ingest that data, set the right targets, hit those targets, and give back the data.
I'm gonna geek out a bit here. I have one topic that I've been sharing with merchants lately. It's all about this kind of conversion modeling. And this is kind of going off topic a tiny bit, but I just would love your feedback on this. I think this is an important area to think about. Was that, let's say people have a certain amount of paid clicks that are coming. And I think with both Google and Meta's kind of conversion API, whatever kind of pixels that are firing, usually the conversion rate, let's call it 1-2%, there's still quite a bit of traffic that is not converting. And so my question about like your solution versus like maybe these kind of conversion modeling opportunities where maybe sending more signals back to Google and to Facebook about, hey, these people didn't convert. Because it's easy to have the conversion API and say, oh, this particular person purchased, please help me find more of these customers. But the thing was that builds their machine model about, hey, wow, these people are selling. Let's find more of these people. But what about the other 98% of the people that didn't buy something? Is there any hidden data in there? And is any of that data being transferred over to improve either your model or Google and Meta's model around just traffic on the website versus actual conversions when these conversion pixels are firing? So I just wanted your feedback on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're using all of the tracking that's available, and we're sharing all of the data back to the business, but also back to Google. So we're not blocking any signals, any information that's coming through at all. And if anything, we're giving really, really granular signals. So a great example is what they call RLSA, so retargeting lists for search ads. So these are audience lists that you can build out, which are based on what someone actually does when they come to your website. So they click on the Google Shopping ads and they immediately bounce. Now they're on a list that they've bounced, and you might want to reduce their bid. You might say, okay, next time that person searches for a similar product to ours, let's reduce the bid we're willing to pay by 20%, for example, to stop paying again and again for this click switcher, keep clicking on our ads, thinking it's what they want, it's not, and they keep bouncing. Equally, we could say if someone clicks and they view 2 or 3 product pages, or they go to a collection page, now that's a really good signal. We want to, when they go back to search for a product that we're relevant for, that we can show on the Google Shopping carousel, and let's say we've worked out the right bid is $1, then we could say, actually, that's $1 for this product SKU, given its margin, given its AOV, for this audience against this search term. But for this specific user who's previously been to our website and clicked on 3 pages, let's pay 20% more. So we can boost use that signal, that RLSA, that retargeting list for search ads to increase our bid. And we can do that again when we look at people that added to cart and not checked out, people who've moved through the cart checkout process but not purchased, and also people who have purchased previously, and we might then want to exclude them, or we might want to include them again. So because as past customers. So again, it opens up all these strategic decisions that we can make. And again, we can model those, and we set up those very granular lists within Google that we've got control on as signals.
I love that. I love the fact that you're sending all these signals back, because I think that's the challenge that I see right now is that you're really only enhancing Google and Meta's machine learning algorithm for top of funnel kind of like campaigns, trying to find net new customers based on just conversions only. I think there's a lot more hidden data in just the browsing history of certain customers overall, even though it's anonymous, it's PII, it's non-PII, sorry. And so Google and Meta know who they are.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why these retargeting campaigns, sounds like it's a pretty epic way of doing it. And then if the shopping campaign is not successful and the bounce is there, then what are we doing to kind of rebuild that? It's awesome that you have that opportunity. We are kind of nearing the end of the show for today, but I just would love to understand kind of like, where's the future for Bidnamic as a company? You clearly have put your flag in the Shopify sand, so to speak, and you've really, building a headless solution now for your shopping kind of landing pages. And obviously shopping management is kind of like, your bread and butter of really helping brands. Like where do you see your company moving forward for the rest of, I guess we're in Q3 now, then into next year?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's all about growth for us as a business. So we've really scaled up. We've grown massively in the US. So we've got an office in Austin, Texas, as well as here in England, in Leeds. So we're really leaning into big R&D investments to build. Our challenge, we want to build the single best landing page, product details page in the world for the journey of someone coming from Google Shopping to purchasing. And we've, as you say, we've put our flag in Shopify as the winners in that space. And we want to build that amazing headless experience. And we want to draw on all of those signals, all of those pieces of information that are available in Google, which we know so well because it's been our core business for many, many years. And we want to make sure that, when a customer clicks, we're not ending our responsibility, as so many digital agencies and tech providers and ourselves until recently would wash our hands having brought a really, really high quality search term and shopper to the website. Now we want to own the next part of the journey. So we want to reduce the bounce rate, and we want to do that through speed, through surfacing the most relevant products, through bringing in tech partners who can, enhance that recommendation, be that search or visual recommendation, be that exit intent, and really, really, enable that next phase of growth, because we see that as such a big winning opportunity that, it's important to pay the right amount. It's important to harness the signals around, is it going to be a repeat customer, a single customer? Is it a low margin product or a high margin product? Does it result in a small basket or a big basket? And yeah, we can absolutely help on that. But when someone clicks on it, the page is slow. They don't see the right products. They bounce, more than half of the time that's happening. And we really want to reduce that down, because that is traffic that merchants on Shopify are paying a lot of money for. So let's really reduce that down and give shoppers a better experience as well. Let's make those, get rid of those slow loading pages. Let's get rid of, poor recommendation. When someone's come in and they've asked for men's running shoes, let's not show them a pair of socks and a jacket. This is low hanging fruit. Let's understand that the customer needs to receive speed. They need to be treated quickly, and they need to get a relevant message and relevant products. And the retailers have those products, so let's make sure they're seen. And this is a huge focus for us. So right the way through to next year is really owning that journey. Not only the right price for the right click from the right shopper and getting the right customer to the website, but actually what is their first experience? What is their entry experience onto Shopify? And we're leveraging that headless Shopify landing page, discovery pages to solve that and give those retailers a real advantage on Google Shopping and on Google Ads.
Yeah, end of the day, I just want to reiterate, I wrote it down here, but really, I think for me, it's like, stop wasting your ad spend on bounce clicks. It's pretty much, I think, what I'm learning today. Like you said, like more than 50% of ad spend really is being wasted on bounce clicks. And I think that's where, this discovery, these headless discovery pages that you guys are building, have built on Shopify. It's obviously is solving both the speed issues, which reduces bounce rate. It helps improve conversion rate. So when they're fast, and then also aligning yourself with other partners for exit intent and other ways of capturing a phone number, an email in exchange, some kind of offers, understanding buyer intent and doing something about it. I think that's really neat. Above the fold kind of stuff. I think that's great. It's really, really, really amazing. Just before we go, I know we chatted in kind of the green room before recording, and I think this is perfect alignment about this bounce rate problem. I understand that you want to share an audit with those listening today. Maybe you can share some of those details? Yeah,
absolutely. So for everyone listening here, first of all, thanks for listening. And secondly, we'd love to offer a free complimentary audit where we can show you what is your bounce rate from Google Ads, from Google Shopping. How high is this? What is it costing you? How much of your ad spend is being wasted on traffic, which is immediately leaving the page before it's fully loaded or before there's been any interaction there? So we can really highlight that, as well as offering you insights around how many products in your catalog are getting no visibility on Google Shopping, are maybe getting clicks that are costing them more than the revenue. Is there products there that are loss leaders for your budget? Is there products that are getting no visibility at all on Google Shopping? And we can give you personalized one-on-one insights on exactly what's holding you back. And these are things that in many cases you can go off and you can implement title improvements, optimizing product titles. You can go into Performance Max and you can change your ROAS targets, or you can work with our technology to give you that visibility, that transparency, that level up in terms of your granularity of bidding, but also the headless landing pages built for speed and optimized for conversion for Shopify. So we'd love to share those insights with every business and what they can go away and do to also, on the same side, what can businesses be doing on their own to improve their pages, to reduce their bounce rates. So they're absolutely things that we'd love to offer to every listener. They can redeem this as well.
Beautiful. I'll add this to the show notes, ecommercefastlane.com/Bidnamic. That's going to redirect to this really neat landing page that you've created. And from there, you can sign up, get this audit done. It just opens up some dialogue. Like, to be honest with you, book a demo and then get an audit done. Just see, like, you just don't know what you don't know. And I think just thank you for offering this. I think this is a necessary, hey, if there's some ad spend that's being wasted, if there's some speed problems and bounce problems, and just not truly understanding the profitability by SKU and making some intelligent decisions, I think that's where your software and landing page creator, I think that's where these pieces all come together. So I just want to thank you for offering that. Thank you for being so open and transparent and sharing today. I've learned a ton. I mean, you can't see it on camera, but I've got 3 pages of notes that I've taken today. So life of learning. I love it. Thank you, Liam, for coming on the show and sharing today.
Thanks for having me so much. It's been, absolute pleasure.
Have yourself a great evening. Well, that's it for today's episode. I'd like to thank you personally for being a loyal listener of eCommerce Fastlane. It's my hope that this podcast is offering you a ton of value through growth strategies, tactics, and exclusive insider tips on the best Shopify apps and marketing platforms, all with my personal goal to help you build, manage, grow, and scale a successful and thriving company powered by Shopify. Thanks for investing some time today and listening to the show. I'm so proud and excited that you have a growth mindset and are a constant learner. I truly appreciate you and your entrepreneurial journey. Enjoy the rest of the week and keep thriving with Shopify.